All right, welcome back to the Built to Grow podcast. I'm your host, Tim Lyons, in the studio, back in the saddle, away from the cabin in the mountains, and back in home base.
The Valley.
The Valley. Joined by Randy Angston. What's up, buddy?
Man. Sorry, guys. There was a little inside joke. So the whole time we were up on the mountain, everybody calls it the mountain. And then when they refer to Phoenix, you're in the valley. And we laugh because when you're here, nobody calls it that.
Nobody calls it the Valley. Whatever. Inside Arizona joke, people are like, what are you?
What?
People in Sydney, Australia are like, what are you even talking about?
No sense.
Anyways, got a great episode for you guys today. We are talking about something that comes up over and over and over, is the steps to switching to semi-private once you've mentally made that shift. I mean, we've talked about the financials and all the reasons of the blue ocean, red ocean, and all the good stuff and the reasons why. But then when we get on a coaching call where somebody signs up for a program, they're like, well, now what, right? I've decided it makes sense. What are the things I need to do now?
Before we dive in, let's define semi-private personal training.
Okay.
Because last week we had a call and the difference and the nuances in the marketplace between semi-private, small group training. What is it? Let's give it a clear definition. So in our opinion, when we talk about semi-private personal training, we're talking individualized programming with, multiple clients, a single coach. So maybe it's 4-to-1. Everybody's doing individualized programming or has an individualized program broken down within, that specific session and deliverable in time. Different than small group, which would be more like everybody showing up, similar to like your large group or boot camps, but with more exclusivity based on less people in the group, but everybody's doing the same movement patterns, same program, like a WOD, right? That would be small group. We define semi-private as the individualized programming, and that's what we're speaking to. It's not the same. Can't charge the same rates. You shouldn't consider them the same. If you speak to them as if they're the same, you're confusing your marketplace. So that's why I wanted to kind of give some clear understanding of the difference.
Yeah, great point. Also, a couple other nuances when we talk about semi-private training. We get away from the word class. That's no longer in the vernacular. It doesn't talk. We don't talk about it anymore. A class to a end consumer is literally the same thing, from a CrossFit class to a bar class to a spin class to a yoga class into a boot camp.
And a lot of facilities sell it that way, right? If you have multiple different classes, you might sell a class pack, right? Where they can drop in any of your classes, and it's that's the membership level.
And I think it is important to make that definition clear and concise. Semi-private training is personalized program in a shared cost environment of the coach. Period. Personalized programming. And if I was going to go even one step further, I would even say strength training, because you could have individualized boot camp, metabolic conditioning with scaled up or down. I mean, essentially CrossFit is that. When they have a scaled WOD, or we're not talking about that at all. We're talking about completely different programs per movement, like
within a movement pattern. Sure.
So anyways, moving on, you've decided this is going to be your move. How do you do it? So everything I focus on when we're working with a new gym is on the delivery of the product. Okay, you can't sell something that sucks. So you need to make sure it's dialed in. Okay, and so there's logistics that go with how to deliver it. Number one is you got to look at the schedule. Okay, when are we going to deliver semi-private training in our environment? Are we completely getting rid of large group? Are we going to take our lowest performing large groups and replace it with semi-private and kind of, or are we just going to do it on Monday, Wednesday, Friday? This is, we work with gyms to kind of figure this out, but you have to have a schedule that you can fulfill on the semi-private training that you're going to sell. Okay.
And it's a little chicken and the egg sometimes.
Correct.
And that has to be kind of an understanding as you're moving into it. You can't sell something you don't have available, but yet you need to make it available. Like, you have to have it on the schedule, and you might not have a full session until you're able to sell it. So understand that it's a transition, not just a switch.
Correct. The next thing we want to look at is the space and equipment. Okay, so in a large group setting, you just have open space. You can do body weight stuff, whatever. in the space. When we're getting into semi-private training, we really need to look at equipment as a selling differentiator.
Absolutely.
You know, we're using barbells, we have racks, we have benches, we have barbells, dumbbells, all of the things that go with plates, landmines, TRXs. The way we set up our studio here at Legacy in Scottsdale is we have 12 individual stations, not stations, call them racks. We went with Sorenecks, double half racks. We have 12. Okay. So now, I mean, okay, well, Tim, I don't have room for 12. I get it. Believe it or not, it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. Like we could probably put another 6 racks in here and wouldn't feel it, right?
Yeah.
But
well, to that point, though, you can go the other direction, right? You could have 12 in a much, much smaller footprint and still do very well.
yeah, you can get away with 3 and sharing them. Okay. So in this decision-making process, you have to decide your ratios. Like, okay, am I going to do 1 to 4, 1 to 5, 1 to 6? I will tell you this. Back in 2010, when we decided to move into this direction, we started 1 to 2, right? We did great. We did 1 to 3, we were good. 1 to 4, we started to get it a little bit tougher. And then when we went to 1 to 5, we collapsed. Like it was horrible. And it was an interesting thing because, again, in 2010, fairly new. Not a lot of coaches had any experience in training in this manner. We didn't have systems. We didn't have program that was customized and in like semi-private pro. We'll talk about this.
Yeah.
So it made it really difficult to give the attention equally across 5 people. We moved it back to 4, and we stayed at 4 for like 3 years. And we just made ourselves better. I see a lot of gyms jumping the gun right to 6. And, you know, again, your product that you're selling for a higher price point needs to be legit. You can't just like wing this. So start with 4. It's okay. You don't have to go right to 6. Now, the beauty of starting with 4 or even 3, the beauty with it is you're making more money even with 4. But as soon as you move into 5, you just increase your capacity by 20% or 25% in this equation with no additional overhead.
Yeah.
And then when you move to 6, that's a 20% increase with no additional overhead. And that's clutch.
Here's a little tip on that. If you're bringing in semi-private and you're worried about how to do that, like, you know, contractually and with your agreements and things like that, guys, reserve the option for up to 6 if that's your goal. Right? It might take you a year to get there, but in your contracts, just say, hey, this is, you know, you may work out with up to 5 other individuals, right? You're reserving what you're delivering to the marketplace. They're agreeing to that. It doesn't have to happen in every session. And as we know, I mean, not every session is going to be at max capacity anyways, right? So that's the easy way to do it and give yourself kind of the time to transition into those things without having to change contracts or then have to worry that, you know, somebody's on a contract that says 4 people and now we want to serve 6. And guys, give yourself the grace, do it once and just do it that way.
Great point. And I would argue if once you get into 7 and 8, it becomes less of semi-private training. I think 6 is the max.
I think it's, we use the term sweet spot for semi-private. I think 1 to 6 is the sweet spot. It does. I mean, the training becomes difficult to deliver that across 7, 8. Yeah.
Okay. So the schedule was number 1. 2 is the equipment in the space, making sure that you have a differentiator between the equipment you're using, the programming you're using, and the space you're using between large group and, say, semi-private training. Number 3, coaches. Not every coach can coach this.
No.
This is a big con of semi-private trainings. You need a higher level coach. You can't just throw somebody in and just from Home Depot and throw them into a boot camp WOD style setting where everybody's doing the same thing and they're just a big cheerleader with a megaphone. Yeah. This is form. This is, you know, strength and conditioning coaches.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no knock on any other model. This is the reality. You can't just, I mean, you could train somebody into this, but this is a much harder find to find a coach that can deliver form, technique, coaching cues, individual programming across 6 people with strength training. Yeah. Safely. Yeah. It's just harder. It is what it is.
Yeah, but you know what that does? That means that the availability in the marketplace is less. That means that you as a business can charge more because the access to that service is less. That's why we can and do.
Correct. but it's hard to find a coach.
But it's hard to find a coach. It's hard to find any coaches right now.
Yeah. So I mean, who do you look for in this situation? If you can catch somebody from like an Exos or somebody that's gone through some like Mike Boyle's stuff, like those would be good coaches in this setting. Maybe come from an athletic performance side, something like that.
Careful if they're too very, very, very technical though, like where they lose the ability to have the conversation in a session, because again, they have 6 people to work with. It's not just that therapy session with one person where we could slow it down to the speed of one. We have to remember how to, give those correct coaching cues, but to keep the momentum of a session going. Also equally important. And again, these are the reasons they're hard to find.
Exactly. Step 4, programming. You have to have a system around your programming, because to generate and deliver individual programming across hundreds of clients is not something you take lightly.
No.
This isn't a job for one person. This is a job for a system. We created Semi-Private Pro to handle this. This is a system. Our coaches do not program. It comes from the top down, the fitness, the gym level down. They facilitate the programs, and we make it very easy for them to be great coaches, because we deliver and display the workouts at the rack. The coach can see it. The client can see it. There's a video. Everybody's on the same page, and it's all done with the equipment in your facility. Programming should not be underestimated. This is a big hurdle that a lot of gyms struggle with. It ain't a wad on the board and everybody does the same thing. Guys, I have probably 7 years worth of boot camps that I can just recycle over and over and over. This is not what semi-private training is. This is the difference. You have to be able to show a big difference between the programming, because that's how you charge a premium for this product. And so that's step 4. How are you going to handle the program?
I think that's the biggest resistance too. I think that's the one. Schedule. Gym owners can try and, they can wrap their mind around equipment. They kind of get what it would take to facilitate that thing. How to program 6 wide, keep it individualized, and have a system to where it's not 7 hours of my night every night. That's where SPP comes in and just step out of the way and just do something like that, because that is everything that's holding that back. That is the key to delivering that entire service. It's all around that system.
And the honest truth is, guys, we didn't create Semi-Private Pro to sell as a white label product. We created it to solve our own problem, but everybody wants it. Yeah. Everybody's like, dude, that's what I've been looking for. It didn't exist in the market. No. We went to a developer. We spent months, almost over 18 months, creating this. And we're on like version 7. It's like, this is not something you take lightly to create an app or a software but now it's banging. We've got it in 15 gyms now, 20, something like that. We're cranking, and it's working very well. So programming is step 4. Number 5 is pricing and sales. My packaging, 2X, 3X, unlimited, weekly, monthly. How am I going to sell this? This is the other side. I mean, pricing and sales technically could be 2 steps, but they're the same thing. How do I explain to a consultation why this is a better
superior product?
Yeah.
Sure.
So you have to get educated around your language, communication, what the benefits are. And then that moves us right into step 6, which is internal marketing. Okay. Why spend money on external? You've got a whole base full of people. If you're switching from either one-on-one or large group into semi-private, just start there.
Yeah.
You can do something as simple as give everybody 30 days to try it. Same price, and then at the end of the 30 days, make a decision whether you're going left or right, and pay more, stay the same. It is what it is. It's so simple to do this. But within that step 5 and 6, which is sales, communication, and internal marketing, you have to tell a story. The story of why you're moving this way, why it's a benefit to the consumer. Okay? Just charging more is not a good enough reason for you as a reason to do this. There's more margins. I'm going to move this way. No, they don't care. They don't care. In fact, that's a negative.
100%. Do not tell them that. Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's
so
horrible.
What is the benefits to the consumer? I'm not going to rattle them off now. That's a little bit more of the secret sauce in our coaching program. But you have to determine, just you as an owner, you've got large, let's say you're doing large group to semi-private. You know that there's more money over here on semi-private. You know you can pay your coaches more. You can whatever, be more profitable. You know it's going to be a difference in the marketplace. But you have to believe that that product that you're selling is better and more superior and worth more than large group training, which it is, but you have to come up with that story and why and how to communicate that.
And benefits, not the features. Not this is what we do. What is the benefit to the client? What are they receiving as a result of that?
Yep.
That's the differentiator. And if you can, get clear on that, your marketing and communication follows.
And now we'll throw a wild monkey wrench into this equation and say, if you're over in the large group world, call it large group training or small group training, and you're delivering strength training over there, you're running an uphill battle.
Oh yeah,
because that's the hardest one to convert.
Yep.
Why would I switch to semi-private training if it's just the same thing I'm doing over here? Stop over-delivering in your large group training with periodization and strength training and scaling up and down your clients' movements, and that over there, get the barbells out of the large group training.
Yeah,
just get it out. Yeah. And if you're that gym, you kind of have to start pulling shit away. You have to start making it more straight body weight, straight metabolic, straight stuff for time, as many reps as possible, stations, do the same thing, make it so damn generic that when you do bring in semi-private training, it's like, that's what I've been wanting.
Well, I mean, like that goes back to like where you were saying, like, don't have those things in there. It's because the benefit to the consumer isn't there, right? You shouldn't be doing strength training in a 15, 20 person wide group. Why? Because you're not delivering the best product for them, period.
Right.
You can't. You cannot service that wide with that deliverable and do it the way it's supposed to be done and successfully, safely, and in that environment. And so by pulling some of those things back out, maybe it is a conversation that hey, we've found a better way. We've looked at our programming and decided, you know what? The best interest of you, our client, is to not do this style of training and this deliverable. So maybe you just edit that change, and that becomes the catalyst for introducing the new layer, right? Or if you're already doing a lot of those things and you don't have a system around doing it, maybe you bring in semi-private pro and you transition both deliverables to change, but you have that conversation with your audience and your consumer, because that's the hardest part when you're in that seat. We've worked with a number of gyms, and I don't feel for them that are kind of delivering that all inclusive type programming in a boot camp style value. There's no way that you can just pop and change it unless you have to make drastic change in order to make that happen.
And I'll give a great example of this. Like you're over here saying like, hey, this isn't the best thing for our consumer to be delivering the strength training in a large group atmosphere. And I'll give you a great example of this. I play Division I college football. And if you were to say, hey, well, Division I college football athletes versus your general population mom and dad, you would obviously think that the football players are probably more athletic.
Right.
You could probably train this group over here in a large group setting doing strength training. You would think.
You would.
I've been in that weight room. I've seen some of the most horrific injuries from large mass of people doing strength training in groups. Horrific, broken bones, nasty. I was right next to a guy, an offensive lineman, who was doing power cleans, lost his footing, came back, the bar across his throat, snapped his wrist. He had straps in. And these are elite athletes. What if you snap grandma's freaking leg in your gym? You're being sued.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the best approach.
Absolutely.
And like, if that isn't a good enough example, I don't know what is. So you need to stop delivering this dangerous programming in a large group setting. Like, nothing's worse than that, right?
I think the way that you should look at it is, you may believe that the style of training is superior and is the best, but does that mean your delivery and the way you can actually bring it to each individual, those don't have to be mutually exclusive. Like you could absolutely have the greatest programming and done in the right environment. You're absolutely right. But the way you're allowing it to take place in your business is a detriment and a risk, not the best way it can be done. And that's really the difference. We're not trying to change your programming. We're trying to have it facilitated in the right manner.
Right.
That's the difference.
Perfect. And then the final step is external marketing. How are you going to explain this to the marketplace who is so used to the word classes, is so used to the word group training, so used to all these things, and you're going to come into the market and say semi-private training or semi-private personal training or personal training, whatever you want to run with. A lot of times we say personal training because it's not private training.
Nope.
Personal training. I'm training you, I'm personally training you. That's it. That's what personal training is. I've got your private programming.
Personalized.
Yep. So there's a difference between personal training and private training. When you say personal training in a semi-private, like if you're doing a semi-private, you're absolutely telling the truth.
Yep.
It's not private training. It's personal training. So just, again, it's semantics, it's nomenclature, it's vernacular. There's all these things that it makes a difference.
Yep. It does. And that's what marketing is.
100%.
I mean, all of it's semantics and language. I mean, you're teaching the market. Well, trying not to teach, hopefully, but like you're showing them these different things that hold significance, and when you get them to believe it, that's their buy-in, and then that's where the conversation begins.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
Our flag's in the ground for several years, over a decade now, with semi-private training. We love it. We will not do anything else anymore. We don't do large group. We don't do private. This is one thing that we do. Very efficient in it. We've got 2 coaches, 6 clients each, 6 racks every hour on the hour, 5 a.m. to 8 o'clock at night, and it's just simple. It's like one thing. You do it great, and it's simple. We've got 3 plans. Good, better, best.
Yeah.
And that's it, man. It's really all we do. I mean, sure, in my gym, there's room. We leave money on the table for supplements and all these other things. We're great at this, and that's all I really care about right now. The other stuff's like the 5% or whatever. This is 99% of our revenues coming from semi-private training.
There's a lot to be said about that, though, too. I mean, for the number that you guys are, the revenue you guys are able to generate with the total number of clientele, you have a very streamlined business. You have a very easy business for people to understand. It's not difficult for the consumer to come in and know their options. You're not trying to pitch, a complete layered stack when somebody walks in. Oh, we have our training, but you also need supplements, but you also need, the recovery and all these things. Right now, this is what we do. Everybody can facilitate that really well, and as time goes on, those ancillary products and things like that can be layered in.
Yeah, we don't have 15 different packages. We don't do sessions. We don't do like drop-ins, and none of that's happening here. It's just straight memberships.
And I think that's the difference, though. I think a lot of gym owners go to, I have all these options, and so let me just throw everything at it because it's more of a place of desperation and scarcity than it is, this is what I'm known for. This is what we provide. Let's just start here and let's do this really well, right?
Well, 19 pitfalls of gym ownership. More is not better. More is more, right?
That's the truth.
So more. Don't just throw stuff out there to think it's better. It's more is more. In fact, it's probably worse.
I think, and I'm sure if we looked at, we both would agree. If we look at our coaching clients, more often than not, we streamline and have them focus on less, not more.
Be better at fewer things, and you'll be great. So. Hopefully this helps you kind of line out the steps. We've got this course in the Forge coming out soon, and this is what we do when we work individually with our coaching clients. More often than not, people are coming to us to switch to semi-private. If that's you, winninggym.com/grow. That's it for this episode. Until next time, guys, keep changing lives. We'll see you on the next show. Bye.
All right, and thank you for listening to that episode of the Built to Grow podcast, where we help gym owners win. Now, do you want to connect with me and other gym owners online? All you need to do is join our private Facebook group, Business Talk with Fitness Professionals. Just head on over to Facebook and type in Business Talk with Fitness Professionals, and when you do, we're going to give you our 10 marketing strategies 7-figure gym owners use to win. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Until then, keep building something great.